Hello, my name is Captain Shane Navarros, Army Nurse Corps Officer, Student Registered Nurse Anesthetist at the Inouye School of Graduate Nursing at USU. I'll be doing a presentation on the book Our Iceberg Is Melting and how the lessons learned in this book can be applied to military and healthcare leadership. So a little background on the authors of this book. John Kotter is a world-renowned business entrepreneur, inspirational speaker, and is credited as the first to develop and publish a change theory model and change management within the business world. He was the youngest to achieve tenure at the Harvard School of Business at the age of 33 and has been a professor there since 1972. More recently, he has focused on teaching management strategies for successfully integrating change in a business, culture, or within one's own life. Holger Rathberger co-wrote this book with John Kotter and assisted Kotter in adapting his 8-step model into a fable allegory about penguins living on a melting iceberg. Rathberger is considered an expert in international business as he lived on 3 continents and has been involved in numerous international companies, including Motorola and Becton Dickinson, a German company on the Fortune 500 list. He is currently the VP for Becton and provides consulting for businesses transitioning strategies. So the story. As mentioned before, this book takes Kotter's 8 steps for successfully implementing change and applies it to a fictitious story about a penguin colony that is faced with a major dilemma. Their home is melting, and if they don't make plans to move soon, they will all perish. So let's meet the main characters. Fred. He's an observant penguin. He's the one who first discovers the problem. And not surprisingly, when he presents the problem to the Leadership Council, his findings are met with a lot of suspicion. And the group is resistant to even follow him to the weakened area of the iceberg that is riddled with cracks. However, Alice, one of the local leaders, she knows Fred very well and trusts him, even if his melting iceberg idea seems absurd. She gives him a chance to prove to her his findings, and after seeing the cracks, she believes him. By getting Alice to believe in him, this accomplishes 2 things. 1, it gives Fred credibility, and 2, it gives a sense of urgency. But they still need buy-in from the leadership. Alice speaks to Lewis, the head of the penguin colony, and convinces him that the iceberg is indeed melting and recommends that the action be taken immediately. Now Lewis is a sage-old, wizened penguin, and he knows that translocating a colony is no small feat. So they really need to assess the extent of the damage and come up with a strategy and a plan. Lewis assigns Fred a team of penguins to help examine the problem and develop solutions while simultaneously whipping up the community to help get community support. The team is made up of a blend of unique personalities. We have the professor. He's the scientist of the group. The professor is very good at dealing with numbers and empirical data, synthesizing objective information without letting fear or emotions interfere. Then there's Buddy. Buddy is very popular and well-liked. He's not the smartest penguin, but his positive attitude helps bring optimism to the team. He's also a key figure in helping win community support. And then there is No-No. The name says it all. No-No is the naysayer, the negative Nancy. We all know the no-nos. And maybe we ourselves have been no-nos before. No-No refuses to believe the iceberg is melting and refuses to change even though his life depends on it. So once the team has convinced the community about the melting iceberg and they have accepted that they need to change, which is not easy for a penguin colony to do, they then focus on coming up with a solution together as a community and eventually migrate to a new iceberg. So here are the 8-step process for successful change that Kotter's outlined. And throughout the story, we saw that change does not come about easily, even if a way of life is threatened. So first, step 1, create a sense of urgency. Why is it important to the group? What will happen if something is not changed? Step 2, pull together the guiding team. In the story, we saw how it took more than just evidence that the iceberg was melting. It took a team, a unique set of personalities to get the momentum going and guide the community. Step 3, provide the change vision and strategy. Once the community saw the need for change and accepted it, now they could develop a strategy together. Step 4, communicate for understanding and buy-in. This is where members like Buddy really shine. He's a well-liked and popular community figure. Buddies in the world are able to network to help win the support for other key figures and help keep the change process moving. Step 5, empower others to act. Lewis demonstrated this wonderfully. By removing barriers and empowering others to act, Lewis utilized his subject matter experts and cultivated a sense of ownership and joint responsibility within the community. Step 6. Produce short-term wins. Tackling change in bite-sized pieces can make the process more manageable and also gives a sense of accomplishment. It also positively reinforces the group, giving them the endurance to see the process through to the end. Step 7. Don't let up. Change process can take a long time. Keep assessing and adapting as needed to stay the course towards the vision or goal. Step 8. Create a new culture. Once you reach your goal, it doesn't stop. Continue to evaluate and review processes. A change in culture is reinforced through a change in behavior and attitude. So all these steps are crucial, and they may have to be repeated more than once in order to successfully complete the change process. And there may be a need to reassess and adjust your goals, but just like the book, once the community saw the need for change and they accepted it, they kept moving forward towards their vision. And ultimately, it transformed their behavior. They went from being scared and complacent individual penguins to being an innovative and adaptive colony. So how did Kotter come up with these 8 steps of successful change to begin with? Well, his 8 steps stem from an observational research study. In 1995, he first published his research after completing a 10-year study of more than 100 companies that attempted major transformations. In his paper, Leading Change, Why Transformation Efforts Fail, he shares the results of his observations by outlining common errors that doom these companies from achieving successful change, and outlined 8 general lessons learned that led to success. So here I've listed some businesses that successfully implemented his change strategy, including the tech corporation Ericsson, a unnamed biotech firm, and even the U.S. Army. By utilizing the 8 steps on 2 occasions, once in 1995 and 2008, Ericsson not only survived those changes, but has continued to be a competitive player within the fast-paced technology world. Another testimonial is from an unnamed biotech firm that utilized a bottom-up approach to boost sales by uniting 750 employees under a common vision to develop new mission and strategies. Through their collaborative work, they saw a stock rise in 38% within just 1 quarter. And the third testimonial is from the U.S. Army. So during the surge for pilots in Operation Enduring Freedom, the Army was faced with a huge new demand for training new pilots and had to make up for a year's worth of backlog trainees. If their slots were not filled in time, the existing pilots would have more frequent deployments with fewer respite periods in between, which would put them at risk for becoming fatigued, overworked, and potentially unsafe. By utilizing the 8-step process, the Army was able to revamp the training pipeline and meet their quota without sacrificing quality and training. So how can we apply Kotter's 8 steps to the military? It can be difficult to implement change in the military due to the transient population and its inherent hierarchical culture as a top-down model. However, military leaders can start by creating a culture of curiosity. Instead of doing things a certain way because that's the way we've always done them, we should encourage others to ask, why do we do it that way? Is there another way to complete this that doesn't sacrifice safety and quality? Next, we can recognize the leaders within your staff and team. Who are the buddies, the professors, the Alices? Also recognize the potential in others. Mentor and develop peers and subordinates, and strive to build staff strengths, empowering them to create a sense of ownership. Next, be a good leader as well as a good follower. A good leader provides direction and motivation to the team. Likewise, a leader must know when to be a good follower. So like Lewis illustrated, a good leader knows when to let go of the reins and just supervise. Additionally, when one is not in a formal leadership role, should be a good role model and espouse the vision and mission and contribute to the mission. Next, should provide recommendations to fixing the problem. If you're critiquing a suggestion, try to provide a recommendation on how to fix the problem. Don't just be a no-no. Lastly, have realistic and sustainable goals. Be persistent but not overbearing. Real successful change takes time, and remember to celebrate small wins to help keep the momentum and instill a culture of change that will sustain. So how can APRNs use the Kotter's 8 steps. As an advanced practice registered nurse, it is one's duty to be a champion of evidence-based practice. When implementing a change in healthcare practice, the APRN can easily integrate Kotter's 8 steps and Penguin personalities to help apply and sustain the change in practice. So why does it take an average of 8 years for evidence-based literature to trickle down to a change in practice? Why is change even important in healthcare? Many times people ask, why do we need to change the way we practice? We've always done it like that, and the patient outcomes have been adequate. But what does adequate really mean? Should one wait to change something until proven dangerous or unsafe? Similar to the iceberg, the reason for resisting change is multifactorial. Like instituting a change in behavior, introducing a change in practice can be complex and difficult. But firstly, the APRN should adopt the Penguin personalities. Adopt a friend-like attitude, be observant and curious, and challenge the status quo. Next, the APRN should also adopt the professor's objectiveness and strive to find the best literature to support the change in practice. And as a healthcare leader, remember to be like a Lewis. Be patient and willing to listen to subordinates and foster an environment where change is embraced rather than feared. Integrating the 8 steps into the evidence-based practice process gives the APRN a roadmap for various situations and gives additional tips for success. For example, what to do when encountering a roadblock with a no-no, or meeting resistance with a stakeholder, or what kind of personality should I look for to recruit for my guiding team. Using this integrative approach to implementing evidence-based practice not only helps the APRN, but also helps instill a change in the culture as well. Making changes is a dynamic process. It never ceases. Continuing to reassess and make improvements is part of the evidence-based practice process as well as Kotter's 8 steps. By fusing these two processes together to implement change in medical practice and policy, the APRN can create a collaborative culture to improve healthcare delivery and patient outcomes. So here are my references, and thank you for listening.